Friday.
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 Friday. Friday. I don't know why
Friday.
we're.
Friday.
Oh, that's a dance. Oh, my robot was not good, and you call that a dance?
Yeah, it's my made-up dance. I can't dance.
Oh, okay. The Elaine dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay. We're there, folks. We are there.
We're at the finish line of the week.
Woo!
How
And
are
the
you?
finish line of websites.
Oh, no, and we're at the finish line of the month.
Oh, gosh.
It's the last day of the month.
Oh, my gosh. What is tomorrow? August.
Who would have ever thought when you go into quarantine mode in March that you would,
Blink.
and it would be
August.
That's sort of crazy. Woo. Anyways,
That is a
I'm
little
shocked.
crazy. Yes. It's been a blur. Every day's a blur. But you know what? I'm thankful to be here with my health.
Yeah, me too.
So, and I hope you're healthy. Thanks for tuning in.
Yep.
What's new?
Well, I've started learning Portuguese.
Let's hear some.
No. I did a little
Everybody,
test.
if you like it, we'll do some Portuguese.
Yeah, I need to start opening up with some Portuguese. I'll have to get Tony out there.
Oh,
Tony
Tony.
Everhart is the one that convinced me to do this. So, well, she didn't have to convince hard. She just said who wanted to. I was like, that sounds fun. So I've been sort of hooked. That little Duolingo app is so addictive.
Addictive. It is a game. She's playing it, and you hear the little.
Yeah, so I've gotten pretty far in just like I think a week's time, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so that's what's new in me. I'm learning Portuguese, and that's about it.
Okay.
I mean, really, just the norm. This week has been a little crazy. I feel like everybody talked to me this week. It's been
Yeah, I would agree with
just
that.
a weird week.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because it's one of those really long months. Like it
Probably.
falls on the
Yeah,
calendar
like,
weird.
it's like the
And
five
so
and a
it's
half.
like, yeah, and so then it's like
Yeah.
5-week month, and so then you're just like, it never ends.
Yeah, no, it never does.
So what about you? What's new?
So I have not been baking at all. One, because you can't really find whole wheat flour, so I don't make our bread that I used to make. I quickly stopped making cinnamon rolls because that was not good for us, but it was delicious, but not healthy. This month I had a goal of running 30 miles, so like a mile a day, 31 miles I could say. I accomplished that by July 20th. So that was fun, and I also had a day streak of hitting my step goal for 22 days, and my feet, I was just like, I'm done. I can't go. I want to go for 30, and I might try that in August. But man, that was rough. So
Well, you won't start out so big, maybe.
Yeah, I know.
It's like your first day
So,
that your step goal was really
I've got a
high.
Garmin, and their step goal is sort of like an incremental algorithm. So like when you hit like a 20,000 step day, it bumps it up, a percentage at a time. So I think by like day 22, it was like your step goal was like maybe 16,000 or something like that. And when I started this, it was like 8,000. It was easy,
Yeah.
So I was
Yeah.
actually struggling to figure out running routes, those kind of things, and when to run. I'm not a morning person.
Right.
by
Well,
any
and he
means.
was like running really late at night, and he was like, I'm done. And I'm like, I can't keep doing this because
Yeah.
he
Couldn't
would
go
be
to
gone
bed.
for like an hour. I would be up in bed. Anyway,
Yeah.
it was intense.
It was intense. But other than that, I got a presidential award from the Rotary. I am the marketing / communications persons there for
Congratulations.
the Greater Huntsville Rotary Club here in Huntsville. There's a couple are in the Huntsville area, so that's my role, and I got an award. It's like what?
Yeah.
So that was pretty.
That's exciting.
Like didn't even know it was coming. It was a shock.
Yeah, it was just showed up in the mail. So
Yeah.
that was pretty cool.
It was pretty cool.
So congratulations.
All right. So the title of today's live. Ready, set, launch. Again, we need props. We didn't get a rocket. We do. Apparently,
rock.
a triangle is a rocket, folks. You engineers out there didn't know it.
Sorry.
But again, we need to invest in a lot of props so we can have a lot more fun throwing at you, those kind of things.
Yeah.
But, so what are we talking about today?
Well, we're talking about everything around launching your website. So things just to really check, double check, triple check, that kind of thing before you launch. And then just sort of discussing a little bit about how you can get some good exposure once you do launch. So just trying to get you, we're wrapping up the web design for this month. And
Okay.
these are some things to get you successfully launched.
Awesome. Well, let's dive into the first question. Are
All
you
right.
ready?
I'm ready.
The countdown's going. 10. How do you do 9? See, I don't use my fingers enough. You just ruined that whole transition. So, what should you check before launching the new website?
Well, there's tons of things that you could check, but I sort of narrowed it down
Okay,
for
good.
us
Yeah,
to
there
a
is a lot.
handful of things. The first thing that's really important, and I don't think that some people realize this, is that you should look at cross-browser capability.
Wait,
Like,
what's that?
so cross-browser capability is making sure that no matter what kind of browser a person might be on, you know, because some people use Chrome, some people use, what is the Windows one called?
There's other browsers than Chrome? All right, I'm going to handle the browser talk. There's
Yeah.
Chrome, Firefox. I'm going to throw out Opera, the big O one out there.
Yeah, I forgot
And then
about
there's
that.
Edge, which is the new Windows one, which there is some people still on Internet Explorer. We don't want to talk about that one.
Yeah.
That one's literally holds back the web, but that's okay, Microsoft. You've done good with Edge though. So those are the 4 major ones.
So you need to look and make sure that you're checking capability across all of those and making sure, you know, from a font and sizing issue that it just doesn't run into some weird quirky things. The cross capabilities have gotten a lot smoother over the years. I mean, goodness,
Oh,
how long
yes.
we've been doing this. It's a lot easier now because there is like a lot of standardization, but there's still some little quirks with different browsers. I mean, some have more like cutting edge things that other ones don't. So you just need
Right.
to make sure that, you know, you or the web design team that you're working with, make sure to say, hey, are you guys checking it on all these devices? And you and your internal team can hit up some different browsers and just try it out and make sure it works. And even different browsers on your phone.
Yes, you need to try the mobile devices.
Yeah.
So even if you get a tablet or even a small laptop, like I've seen, you might have a responsive, is what it's called, issue. When you go down to the 13-inch laptops to a tablet that's 10 inches to even your mobile phone. So again, test all the browsers you can. Test all the devices you have access to. And you know what? I've even reached out, hey, family, can you go to this website and send me a screenshot?
Right.
Be awesome.
Right. Well, I mean, and there are tools out there. So if you're working with a web design company, they should be able to access some tools to check across. But it still is nice to have that like organic one you can actually like touch and play around with
Right.
and check all of the page instead of just like some screenshots and stuff like that. So be sure to look into that and make sure that that's accounted for and make sure that it does work across, you know, an iPhone versus an Android and all those kinds of things.
Yep.
Because there are some nuances
Just
in
little
those.
nuances that show up.
Yeah, and you know, with today, most people's website, they mobile first. You know, it's a big thing. So making sure you check across the multiple styles of phones and that sort of thing can be really helpful. So that's really it on that.
That's the first
step.
check.
Yeah. So that's the first area. The second area that sometimes gets very long lost is the 404 page.
Oh, what's 404?
So the 404 page is if someone comes to your website to a page that may not exist anymore, or they have a typo,
Oh.
and they end up on, like, they have to at least be on your website. So it
Yeah.
has to be like whatever your URL is / typo.
Or it's found through search. They click an old link
Right.
because they search something and you launch the new site. That 404 page is very helpful.
Right. So just making sure that you actually like have given it some TLC, because you want it to exist and have a little bit of like it might build something into your brand about it to be a little quirky, a little fun. So just be sure to be attentive to that and make sure you have one.
So along the same lines of that is if you did do the whole site mapping and you restructured some things, setting up redirects, right?
Right.
That would be another checkbox is even if you change some names from like say maybe the About Us to the Team, you'd want to do a redirect so then all the search engines know that. And if you've ever emailed anybody, let's say in the last week, and you launched it on that next week, you don't want those links to be bad.
Right. Yeah, that's a huge one that we see a lot is that, when you are working on content, which we talked about last week, so check that video out if you haven't already. Yep. But that's one of the big things that I see is that, people will like restructure their whole website and then they forget that like Google still knows, like you were talking about with the 404 page, Google still knows and index that old content. So if it doesn't exist anymore, then you need to show it what new page to go to. So you actually can tell Google and other search engines like how to navigate that.
Right.
There's some ways to do that. So make sure that that's handled, again, by your web team so that it does happen and you don't miss that traffic. Because, that could be detrimental to your organic, because once there's like some bad linkage there to Google,
yep.
then it has to go like reevaluate all your content again instead of like, connecting the dots for
yep.
you. Or it's harder on Google than it just being able to connect the dots. I mean, it's still going to evaluate your new page long term, so you might start dropping in the rankings if it's not as well laid out or whatever. But if you don't make that linkage at all, it's going to be like, doesn't show up in search results. Yeah. And then you're like, what?
It will affect you. If you're a large site, you'll probably recover pretty fast. But for the smaller business sites, it's going to affect you instantly, and it's going to take longer to get back up to where you were. Mm-hmm. So take note. We have an internal process that we actually go through every single link on the old site, put it in an Excel document, do all the new links, and then say, okay, is anything different? Yes, this one needs to go here. And literally, it is tedious, but it makes sure you don't lose anything. And any email you've ever emailed is not lost either.
Correct.
So, or even worse, your business card. That link doesn't work anymore. So again, things to think about. All right. So we've got so far, I'm going to just short recap. Browser testing, 404 page. You can be quirky and fun. I've seen some really good ones out there. Yes. Redirects for any pages that went away. And what would you say is next?
I would say privacy policy.
Ooh, that one's good. And
like terms of use. There's, multiple options there, but you definitely need privacy policy, especially if you're going to have the Google, if you're going to have any kind of tracking stuff. It's required to have those things so that people know that you are tracking them. Like if you have Google Analytics or if you have Google ads that you're running and doing tracking with that. And then also, we're always talking about Facebook ads here, LinkedIn ads, all those types of tracking systems where you're actually going and installing something on your site. When you hear us talking about that, those are the kinds of things that you need to let people know that you have on your site so that they can also opt out of those things.
Yep.
So those are important, and I do think that that's something that does tend to get lost in that launch process.
Yep. Another very important one, which goes along just with that privacy policy, is making sure the analytic tools are there.
Correct.
I've seen a lot of sites like, hey, we launched a new site, and we don't know why analytics are 0. Since we launched it, and we're like,
then you lose that forever.
The first question is, did you put the code back in? Well, no. You got to install it back. Again, if you're using WordPress and you have a plugin that does the analytic tracking for like Facebook or even for Google Analytics, that will be there. So that's not that, but you still want to make sure it is reporting. So again, one of our steps that we do is we go and check to make sure Analytics is firing, make sure it's firing to the right domain, and in Google Analytics, it's actually showing that hit. Mm-hmm. So even right after launch, we then check it in Google Analytics to make sure it's firing. And then other tools like Hotjar, which is like a usability tracker to see how people are using your new site. That is a great thing to add in, maybe just for like a month, to see how people navigate compared to the old site, because there might be like, well, I don't know what to do here. You'll get some really good visual feedback on that. But installing those tools is a simple check. Hey, I need to make sure that's there because I don't want to lose the analytical information that I used to have.
Yeah, and that's a big one, because if you go a month without having it on there, it's lost data.
You can't get it back.
So, definitely quadruple check that one.
Yeah.
I think that one's very important.
A little pro tip you can do in Google Analytics is add an annotation saying, on this day we launched a new site.
Yeah.
That's very good because you come back and look 2 months later, like, why did we get this giant spike on a Tuesday?
Yeah.
Oh, we launched a website that day. So,
Yeah,
again,
so, and the annotations, for you that don't know that exists, just search around for that, but you can find that at the bottom of your graph, like when you're on one of the main views
Yep.
that has the graph with like the list view underneath it, there's a little plus sign.
or an arrow. It's a down
Or
arrow,
sorry,
and
well,
then you
whatever.
see
It's
the
like-
plus. Yeah, it's
It's
really
like little
confusing.
bitty, and you click it, and then you're like,
Oh, I
that's
can
what
make a
that's for.
note here.
So, and then you'll have the little dots. It'll show you that there was
Yeah.
something there, and you can click on it, and it will show you what it was. So, search for that if you need visual,
Yep.
help finding that. But that is something that is useful.
What about SEO? What should we do around the SEO when we're launching a new site?
Well, one thing is to just make sure to optimize your images. Don't put, an image that's like 5 million pixels wide into a 400 pixel width spot. So
You
make
get a
sure all
headshot?
of those things are optimized.
You get a headshot from your photographer, it's probably 20 megapixels nowadays.
Yeah,
If not higher, you don't need to use that version.
correct.
Make it a little bit
So-
smaller.
So make sure, there's tools out there that you can check for page speed
Mhm.
and those sorts of things. Google has one. There's all kinds. I mean, I think HubSpot has one now, and there's several different others, and you can like put your URL in and it'll, check it, so you can put in your development URL and just sort of see some areas that aren't performing. And again, if you're working with a web company, that's just something to make sure that, if you're in the process of finding one or you're in the process of actually going through the design, make sure that you talk to them about ensuring that your pages are going to load quickly.
Right.
Because again, if you're on a mobile device and this page takes forever to load, people are not going to wait.
Yeah.
So
no,
you
not
need to
gonna wait.
make sure that things are going to load well, and then you also need to polish off all your SEO stuff, from the meta information and that sort of thing, because that's what shows up for the wording on search engine results, even though it's not so much important from showing up in the actual rankings themselves. It is important on talking to that person about why they would care to click on your page.
Yeah.
So making sure all of those are there, dotting I's, crossing T's about those sorts of things. So that's sort of like a good polishing off touch. You can always continue optimizing after launching, but those are just a few that really help polish things off.
And I've even seen some people accidentally leave like temp page or test,
Yeah.
and that was like the homepage. Well, you don't want
Right.
test to show up. It takes, again, just a couple more minutes to go through, do a QA, quality assurance for those QA folks out there. You know what I'm talking about. So just do that because it will save you from an organic side. And that's what the most important thing is. You don't want to kill your organic
Right.
ranking just because you spent so much time working on a new site.
Right.
And we forgot to do this one little thing of changing the title of the homepage from test.
And these are all things that, I mentioned that you can do on your development site. You don't
Yeah.
necessarily have to do it after you launch. But depending on your launch process, you may want to do like a soft launch and then actually do these items on like the site as it is. And, once you get it live, and make sure you internally dot all these I's and cross all these T's, then, that's sort of how we then get ready to go into like the launch or, post-launch phase. So,
Yeah, I think that's great. Cool. So that's a good little short list. It's not the end-all be-all list by any
yeah,
means.
no, there's tons of other things, but I felt like, highlighting those, I think it was 5 things.
I don't know.
Anyway, those
Blacked
rough
out.
things, that just keeps it more digestible, and I feel like those are the really important things that are going to impact usability. They're going to impact that organic reach, which is important. So,
Yeah. All right. So once we've gone through our pre-launch little checklist and QA there, now we've got the new website live. What can we do to get the most exposure after we've launched it?
well, once you're past, your launch and you've decided, this is it and we're ready to take it, prime time, and it's not like in a soft launch phase anymore, it's out there and we want to promote it to the world. I mean, you really just need to get on your marketing cap and your like you really need to think about what would I do if this were just a general campaign, because it is something that we want to promote. We want people to know.
You worked hard on it.
Right. So, and I think a lot of times people don't, like, they just whisper in the wind and launch their new site.
We got this awesome new site, but you're telling no one.
Well, right. I mean, they just sort of do is like, okay, check that off, we're done. And then they move on about, some kind of promotion or something they're doing. They don't actually use it as a time to, like, promote and get in front of their potential customers or their current customers and show them, like, the new features that might be enjoyable for them. And so you really miss that ability to touch your customers with your new site. So don't forget. I mean, it's an important piece. You put a lot of effort into it, or you worked with someone and probably spent, invested a good bit of money into it. So let's use it as a reason to get in front of our customers or potential customers. So think about, email blasts.
Ooh.
Be sure to reach out to your current customer base or your current contact base. You can send different style emails to each.
Right. Even, leads. Just be like, hey, because you might have a whole new section for them.
Right. So you based on how you have them segmented in your email list, which I hope you do. So if you have them segmented, say you have actual, like, hard leads that are, in the process of sales leads, and send them to a specific section that might be very revamped to better, sell your services or goods or whatever. And then if you have, like, a new feature, say, you have a subscription system or something like that, then send it to all your users or people that have been a user before on your system. Let them know that this new feature exists, because that might reconvert somebody that you lost a while back, or it may make someone that hasn't been as engaged, but they've been a paying customer. It may re-engage them and keep them from canceling their subscriptions and those sorts of things. So just think about how you can segment and change the messaging about that website launch to the different audiences. So be sure to do that. And then you want to promote it on all your social channels. Be sure to touch them all. Yeah, touch them all, and again, think about the audience that's going to be there, and try to think about your messaging in a different way. And then don't forget to talk to your internal team. Get them to also promote or share the post so that people in their networks can actually learn about your new site as well. So just get as much exposure from a social standpoint as you can organically. And then lastly, think about advertising. If you already had on your previous site, if you already had a Facebook pixel installed, or Google ads with their, I don't know what they
audiences.
Call it. It's like their little tracking system.
Yeah.
They need, like, a little catchy name. What do they call theirs?
It's called Google Analytics.
Oh. Well, I thought they had like a tracking thing.
Well, they have a conversion.
It tracks things, but it's just like within Google Analytics.
Right. It's just, that's in Google Ads. It's just the conversion tracking.
Okay.
But you can use the Google Analytics data just like the Facebook pixel in Google Ads. That's
right.
Way to go technical. I like it. Michelle's getting more technical on me.
Anyways, I just think it's a catchy name. When you're tracking people in Google or Facebook, that makes it sound better. When you're doing that, then you might be able to, again, like, create ads that let people know about the launch, or change up the messaging just a little bit about, like, hey, come back and check out this new feature. Again, if it's someone that was signed in on your site, like if you have that kind of system, or if it's someone that has come to your site multiple times in the past week and have been really engaged, or in the past 90 days, then be like, hey, come check out. We've got a lot more information around X topic that that they were engaging with, or whatever. So don't forget that you can put a little money behind it and let people know that you've relaunched or launched a new site. And then even just general advertising that promotes your company, but has like this new look going, and everything sort of matching with the new website. And then you do like a whole campaign around that as well. Again,
you want to maximize all the effort leading up to this moment to get people, again, more aware of your brand and look at this great new product, our image out there.
Well,
those kind of
right.
things.
And then a good thing about that is, you mentioned the user interface tool, Hotjar, and there's multiples of those, but that's one in particular that we use. So one good thing to think about is if you're, you do the soft launch, then you do this more full-blown campaign, then you're going to get a lot of valuable data there all at once to then reiterate and make a few tweaks to make your site just work that much better. So it's really good to do this post-launch campaign because it gives you the ability to quickly get a lot of people, because you can't make, like, if you get 100 visitors a day, you can start making sound decisions from a statistics standpoint,
Yep.
because that's all, boring math stuff. But basically, if you only get 5 visitors a day, then you don't have enough data to be statistically sound
Right.
to make tweaks. Because if all of those 5 people, acted weird with your navigation menu, then you might be like, oh, we need to change it. But that's only 5 people. If you had like 200 people, then you might be making a better decision, because once you saw 200 people come to your website, only those 5 people had issues. And
Yep.
so it's not statistically sound. So driving and pushing a lot of people to your website can help you make sure that you optimize it sooner
Right.
rather than later.
Which
so.
is important. That's a lot.
Yeah, sorry I got off on the little tangent.
It's
there.
okay. But again, just to recap, the short list of what you can do after your soft launch is email those contacts, promote it on your social channels, all of them, your team pages, everything, and then also run some advertisement behind it around people who maybe just recently came to the site and those kind of things. So to recap everything we've talked about today, basically before launch checks, a little quality assurance, QA there. Before you launch, things to check to make sure you have a good experience of the website going out and you're not scrambling. Pro tip, don't launch on a Friday night
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
because you don't want your whole weekend taken away. Launch Monday morning, Tuesday morning, a lot easier to support during the day than in the middle of the night when your boss might be calling you and saying, hey, the website's down and it's 2 a.m. You don't want that. That's just a pro tip. Sorry, went off on a tangent. It's tangent day. It's what we should call this topic. So go through a checklist before you launch. All right, you want to do that. Good, solid launch. That's before. Then after you launch and you go through that little soft launch period, then let's promote it. Tell the world about your new website. It's very simple to do, and it can give you a lot of information, and it also gives you a way to reach out back to those sales leads that you just talked to back. Check us out again. Look at the new site.
Yep.
So again, that's it for the day. We really hope you enjoyed it. And again, we need props. So if you're a prop company, let's work together.
Hit us up.
Other than that, ready, set, launch. Y'all have a great day.